I'm Darren Coffield. I'm a painter, and I've been a member of the colony for about 9 years now. I first went there, I think it was September 1989, and I was taken there by a friend of mine who was made a member for his birthday present. And I'd heard about the club, but I didn't exactly know what to expect until I walked through the door. And it was quite a place.
Yeah.
I can tell you.
I mean, did it take you by surprise? Was it how you imagined it to be?
I didn't really have any preconceptions of what it would be like, but it lived up to everything I might have thought it would be and more.
Right.
It was definitely an uninhibited place where people could discuss anything, and there was a huge range of people there, from judges to out-of-work actors and general layabouts.
Yeah.
So there was a good social mix, which was obviously helped by the drink.
And so you decided, why did you decide you wanted to become a member as well?
Well, I didn't really decide. I just spent so much time up there that one night said, Ian's board said to me, you better become a member then, hadn't you? And I said, oh well, if you insist. And so I signed on the dotted line, so to speak, made a pact with the devil, and have been a member ever since. And I'm still going up there now. It never seems to lose its charm, and it's completely unpredictable. You never really know what it's going to be like from one moment to the next.
Yeah.
And so really that is what makes the place so attractive compared to other private drinking clubs where they appeal to a certain type of person, and they have a turnover in membership because people obviously move on to the next higher echelon of drinking and socialising. But the colony just remains the colony, and that really is its charm.
Yes, yeah. So were you a student then when you first went?
Yeah, I was a student at the Slade School of Art, and some of my tutors were quite horrified that I was a member because they'd literally been thrown out by the scruff of their necks out of the club, and I think they couldn't quite believe that I was a member there.
Right. Anybody in particular?
I remember Bruce McLean telling me that the first time he went there, he walked through the door and some man with a large nose said, "Who the hell are you? And why don't you f*** off and get out?" And Bruce McLean said it completely shocked him. He just stood there speechless. Which, if anyone knows Bruce McLean, it's hard to imagine he'd ever be lost for words, being a performance artist. And quite a few of my other tutors just thought it was very strange that I should actually want to go and drink there, because they'd been so heavily abused there in the past and thrown out, that they just thought it was strange and how it could possibly hold any attraction for me.
Right. So, but you weren't abused by Mr. Board then? He was quite nice to you, wasn't he?
Yeah, he very much took me under his wing, and he'd always say to me at the end of the night, "How's your handbag?" Meaning, do you have any money? Are you okay for getting home? And he would offer me money for a taxi fare or a bus fare, because he knew what it was like and had known painters in the past, such as Freud and people, before they were famous, how difficult money was to come by. So it's a great place for artistic support as well,
right,
as socialising.
Yeah.
Obviously, they don't just dole out money to people, but they know if people are going through bad times, and they will help people out.
Yeah, a lot of people have said this. It's a real kind of tight-knit sort of family in a way, and people do help each other out.
Yeah, it is, and for some strange reason, no matter what the different backgrounds people have who live, who go there, they do seem to have a lot of empathy for one another. I remember Ian saying to me, the most important thing isn't being kind to people, but to have empathy for them. You can't quantify kindness. You could pat a dog on the head and it would be kind. But empathy is an important thing to have with other people.
Yes, yeah. And is it, what is it, do you think, that makes it important for artists particularly? I mean, why do you think that they need that place, if you like?
Well, I think it because it is so uninhibited, that you can basically talk about anything. And it is a place of release. I mean, even now in England, it is quite an inhibited place, and there are certain preconceptions or social niceties that one has to adhere to when one goes to places, even if they might be the most outrageous nightclub. You may have to dress in a particular way or act in a particular way to fit in with that crowd. Whereas with the colony, there is no particular way to behave or to dress or to be seen or station in life to have, to be a member and to socialise up there. It's a very fluid place, and there's really no great problem with people up there. It doesn't seem to me, no matter what their sexual preferences are or whatever their past histories are, people just get on with each other. And they do have a lot of empathy for each other, as I said before.
Yeah. And what about drinking? I mean, I don't know if you're a big drinker, but I mean, certainly a lot of the artists who have been there in the past and now as well seem to need somewhere where they can just kind of go and get completely pissed. I mean, it's some sort of release, or I don't know if it's a release or an escape or quite what it is, or if there is some relationship between being an artist and being a heavy drinker.
Well, I think drink's one of the few intoxicating substances you can actually take and still, if you're dealing with visual subject matter, still have some handle on it. I think the problem with getting intoxicated by anything else, it seems to me, people who've tried, is that they produce work that looks great once they're on that particular substance, but when they wake up in the morning, it just looks absolutely atrocious. And I think quite a lot of people can manage to make work and drink.
Oh, right, that's interesting.
Bacon used to drink whilst he was painting, and he would paint whilst he was drunk.
Yeah.
But any other people who've experimented with substances and tried to make work in the past, they've usually failed quite hideously.
Yes, yeah. And this idea of the show for the 50th anniversary, how did that happen? And just talk us through what was it Michael who asked you to be in the show, or how did it happen?
Yeah, it was one sort of dingy afternoon sitting in the club quite early on, and Michael suggested that he was thinking about putting the show on, and would I like to be in it? And I said yes, of course. It'd be a good chance to put something back into the club after all the years of getting so much enjoyment out of it. And I'd said I'd help out in any way, whether it was putting in work or not. I was completely available to be of service. And I think he hasn't had any trouble really getting any works off members. If anything, he's had too many works and too many offers, because everyone's quite willing to do it out of respect for the club and to support it in all the years that it's been there for people through good times and bad.
Yeah, because it's quite amazing. I mean, looking at it sort of all coming together. You've got work by very well known and established artists, and in a way it's surprising that they've agreed to be in the show to sort of hang their work next to some people who are not professional artists at all. They're sort of amateur painters, in fact. It's hard to imagine any other circumstance where a well-known artist would be agreeable to showing their work alongside an amateur painter.
Yeah, but I think that actually reflects the kind of atmosphere of the club, is that is possible, that there isn't that sort of snobbery sitting around there in the four walls of the club. But that's why a show like that could actually happen, and that's why people are amenable to show.
Yeah.
And that's why they are members of the club. It's because they do have that kind of attitude. They're not necessarily worrying about how showing next to an amateur painter, for example, might actually affect their career, because they don't care. They don't even look at what they're doing as a career. It's just a byproduct of their life, which is the way I suppose art should be.
Darren, what was it like when you first walked into the colony? Did you feel safe? What was the feeling?
It had a certain buzz about the place. I mean, it wasn't quite like anywhere you'd ever been in before. It was very eclectically arranged, the interior. Yeah. There were all sorts of things all over the place, mementos. The club was quite dark and dingy and had a feel of faded grandeur in a way, and it seemed slightly seedy, and that made it quite exciting. It was unlike most places you go to nowadays, which are overlit and have obviously been meticulously planned. The club is a sort of organic thing that has grown, and it's reflected on the walls of the club, I think.
It's a kind of antithesis of that kind of antiseptic sort of...
Exactly. Yeah. It's a complete antithesis of what most drinking places are like nowadays.
Right. Have you ever been frightened in there?
Frightened? No.
So no experiences that have happened that have just been a bit kind of what's gone on there, and
no,
bad behaviour's gone on. I mean,
no, because I think most people who go there aren't the kind of people to be inhibited too much by things. I think if they were, they'd only ever go there once, which some people do, and they never return. you know, obviously it appeals to a certain kind of person. You either fit in or you don't. And I think people know within being there for 10 minutes whether they ever really want to go there again.
Did you ever meet Bacon or any of the people
Yeah, I
from that era?
well, I saw Bacon probably about a dozen times up there, and chatting to him once, he offered me a glass of champagne. But he wasn't a person who was very much interested in talking about art, so you would really just talk about the weather in a certain way, you know. Anything but art was the conversation subject.
Have any of those painters influenced you in a direct way?
Probably when I was a student, but the main thing I think is to shake off your influences as an artist.
Become your own.
Exactly.
Yeah. Where do you see the colony going? It's often referred to by people as kind of like anachronistic, you know, not of this time. Where do you see it going? Will it continue to be there in its same form?
I think it will. I think it will. Obviously, the club's changed over the years. When it first started out, it obviously had quite a few people were attracted to the club because it was owned by a woman who was gay, and the man behind the bar was gay, and a lot of gay people drank there. Obviously, over the years, with homosexual acts and things being decriminalised, the nature of the club's changed slightly, and it always will slightly change. But it always manages to fit in with the times, but not in a way that's, you know, trying to necessarily attract people to drink there. They're not trying to be fashionable. The club won't stay open to 3 o'clock in the morning just, you know, to attract a few more drinkers, because that's not really what it's about.
But there's not like a colony school of painters, is there? You don't all paint the same type of stuff, or you don't, you know, make the same type of art. But
no.
What is it about artists in particular that are attracted to this place?
I think it's just a place where they can lose their inhibitions, which they always want to do, and it's a good school to learn to be uninhibited. You can be schooled in that, in a way, and then nothing really quite phases you for the rest of your life.
Tell me one of your typical wild times in there. Tell me a typical evening for you.
That would probably be incriminating, but
that's what I'm hoping.
The great things are really the parties, where the club gets so packed because it's not a very big place. There is perfectly a normal thing there to get so drunk that you're literally held up with the body pressure of other members, and then as the place starts to empty out at about 2 o'clock in the morning, you realise you can't actually stand on your legs, that you've actually been held up by all the other people who've been crammed into that room, standing up all night. And quite a few things have gone on over there over the years that most of the people who are involved in them are living, so we could get into a situation of litigation here if I was to recount any of those.
Oh, brilliant. That's excellent. Good luck. Thanks.
Thank you very much.